There's old shop foreman Kevin. What are you doing, buddy? You out here doing some supervising? Oh boy. Look at you. Look at old Kevin. And here's that stock trailer sitting outside. The owner's going to come get it, oh, about any minute. Sometime this afternoon anyway. They're going to come get it. And as I mentioned, there's that 1-ton Ford down there that the guy's going to come about any second. They'll pull in the driveway and they're going to be taking that away. Now, you guys remember this truck, right? From just a couple videos ago. I just got it sold here this morning. This is the last time I'll be filming it on this property. And it's going to leave here in about 10 minutes. So it's gone. It's out of here. On to the next one. Good morning. I do have my work cut out for me. Very odd. I was pretty impressed. I'm going to do what I always do on these trucks. And that just happens to be my thing, by the way. This paint job's probably 5-6 years old. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. And here he is leaving. It wasn't quite as fun as I was expecting. And that starts right about now. And now that I have fixed up and sold that 2009 F350, I'm going to turn my attention towards this 2019 F250. This is another little small project I'm working on. And when I bought this truck, I bought it about the same time as I bought that 2009. I bought that F350 so I could fix it up and sell it. And then I bought this F250 because this was supposed to be kind of my go-to 3/4 ton truck. I have another 3/4 ton truck on the property, but it's for hauling water full time. It's got a water tank in it and that's all it does. But if that were to go down, I would need another heavy duty truck to slip that tank into while I work on it. Otherwise, we're out of water here on the property almost instantly. You know, within 24 hours, we're going to be needing something to haul a water tank. So I got this as a backup for that, but more importantly, I got it as kind of just a go-to truck. You know, anytime we need to do anything that involves a pickup, this would be the one. And I bought it from United Automotive in Denver, right? These guys right here. United Automotive. Don't do business with United Automotive. Those guys are clowns. They're clowns. Stay away. There's a lot of little dealerships in Denver. Many of them. Denver's 6 hours away from here. I'm willing to go all the way down there because there's some really good deals down there, and there's a lot of dealerships. And I've had fair luck at quite a few of them. But these guys, United Automotive, clowns. It took them 8 months to get me the title for this truck. So it just sat there. I'm on the phone with them weekly. They were ignoring my calls. They wouldn't get back to me. They wouldn't text me back. They wouldn't message me. Even after I threatened legal action, they left me for 8 months. So this truck sat for 6 months on my property without me being able to drive it. I couldn't put plates on it. They wouldn't send me my title. It was, absolutely out of control. I was furious. And so stay away from United Automotive in Denver. Wow, those guys are clowns. Anyway, when I bought this truck from them, I bought it because I had certain things in mind and it didn't fit the bill as well as I had hoped it would. See, for one thing, it's got the 6.5 foot bed, which I elected for at the time. I thought, it's going to make it more maneuverable, but really it's more of a hindrance not having that full 8 foot bed. I found that a lot of times it's time to hop in a pickup and go buy something, go pick up something and haul it. You almost always need the bigger bed, or at least I do. So I didn't care for that decision that I made. And another decision I made was also for the sake of the wheelbase and keeping things where it'd be maneuverable, the shorter 4-door, the super cab. When in fact I should have gotten the crew cab. It doesn't make that much difference in the turning radius of the truck. And I'm far happier. I've owned crew cabs before, and I'm far happier with the amount of leg room and the fact that everybody can open their own independent door without having to open the front door. I like those things. So I wanted a crew cab with the full 8 foot bed. This truck just really wasn't doing it for me. Plus, like I said, it sat most of the year. I couldn't use it anyway because of United Automotive. And so now I'm just looking to get rid of it and sometime this winter, next spring, get into the type of truck that I actually wanted. But one of the things that's a hindrance for me to sell this truck is this right here. At some point in time, this got scraped. I knew about it. It's maybe the only thing United Automotive was honest about. But, that's not going to be a great selling point. So what I'm here to do today is I'm going to mask off these fenders, just like I did with that 09, all the way down, mask off the front fenders. And then I'm going to put on I'm going to prep it, and then I'm going to put on an undercoater. That way I can get rid of these scratches altogether. and possibly make the truck a little more sellable. And so I'm going to start by wiping down these areas that I intend to work on thoroughly with wax and grease remover. You know, a lot of these projects will wipe down with thinner, but I'm planning on keeping the paint job. I don't want to mess anything up with thinner. And so I'm going to use wax and grease remover and maybe a little more elbow grease than usual, and really give this a good wipe down just in case it's ever been buffed before I get going. Then I'm going to get out my vinyl tape and I'm going to start making my lines, and then I'm going to mask the rest of the truck, prep this, and hopefully get that undercoater on maybe even today. You know, at this point I've got my basic masking done. I'm going to throw some sheets over the top of that and tuck them up under this paper. Going to do a little bit of masking on this grill guard, but other than that I'm pretty much ready to go. I have the wheels on the other side scratched. On this side they're not scratched yet. Found a little ding under here, went ahead and took care of it. Took care of those gouges with glazing. And at this point I'm going to go ahead and finish scratching these other two wheels, and then sand and scratch all of the rest of this so so my products will stick to it. Then I'm going to get it in primer and get this in undercoating and get these wheels in black paint today. Yeah, now here it is, fully scratched. As you can see, not a shiny spot on it. Fully sanded, fully scratched. And now the wheels have been primed. The wheels got primed quite a while ago, because now I'm going to get out my undercoater, undercoat this, and then wipe these wheels down quick and paint them gloss black. Well, good morning, gang. Well, it's first thing the next morning, and I think everything turned out good. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy unmasked. We'll have a look at how it turned out. Well, okay. This took me 1 day to complete. Let's go ahead and have us a look. Okay, here we've got a 2019 Ford F-250 XL. This one's got the 6.2 gas engine in it. Only has 120,000 original miles. Runs and drives like it's brand new. I'm not even joking about that. And what I did was, we put some undercoater all the way along the underside here. And the basic meaning of that was to get rid of all those scratches that were right there. And they were deep enough, they were clear to the metal, so there was no buffing those out. So I went ahead and did that. Painted the wheels while I was at it. Driver's side looks much the same. It's a subtle detail. It isn't like that makes the whole paint job, but it does fix those scratches on the other side, and it fixed that little dent in the passenger side door at the bottom. These wheels in black look much better than whatever that color of pale sissy silver that Ford always chooses looks. I mean, you can't tell if that's a white, gray, silver. I mean, what even is that, you know? But here, black, much better, I think. Truck turned out nice. And this truck is for sale. That's really the biggest reason I did it. A few little scratches in a work truck for me doesn't bother me a bit. I will not abide a pickup that I own or a car having a different colored hood or a different colored door, you know, even a different colored tailgate would drive me crazy. So there's certain things I wouldn't abide, but in a work truck, I can put up with a few scratches. But I wanted to take care of these because this truck is on the marketplace. I want to get it sold, get it out of here, and get on with my life. However, here's something interesting you might want to have a look at. And it showed up yesterday in a big box with a bunch of small boxes in it. And I'll show you that right now. We have one of my two Toolcat seats. And then we have these two boxes that are full of decals. And I still need to unroll all these decals and make sure that they sent me the right ones. But those two boxes came in this box, which has my fenders. And if you look in the bottom there, see that little black? Those are my fender flares. So most of my parts showed up. The other seat is probably in transit. That happens a lot. I've ordered my own tires and installed my own tires. Like actually broke down the rims and swapped out the tires on a small manual tire jig for over the last decade at least. And a lot of times when I order a set of tires, only 3 show up, and then the next day the 4th one shows up. So I think it's just a matter of cargo room in the van that brings them. So I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't show up today or maybe Monday. It's Friday right now. So, you know, if it doesn't show up in the next few days, I'll get a hold of Ingersoll Rand and let them know. But most of my parts showed up, so now I can start doing that tool cap project. And between that tool cap project, the Kenworth we got sitting outside, A fire truck we have showing up right after that. And about half a dozen other things we got going around here, including cutting up those hoods. I still have to cut those up and remove them yet. As usual, and as you would suspect by now, we got our hands full. This morning I'm out behind Flash Industrial Painting and I'm getting ready to sandblast the chassis on this 2007 Kenworth W900, as well as this 2004 Bobcat 5600 Toolcat. Now I've got Ginger in here doing my pre-sandblasting inspection. She'll let me know if it's okay here in a minute once she's done checking things out. This one is going to be much the same as a lot of the other ones you've seen. We're going to remove these mirrors. We're going to plug the holes entirely. We're going to reshoot it basically the way it is right now. We're going to sandblast this chassis, which, as you can tell, pretty desperately needs it. There's not a lot of paint left on it. And we're going to sandblast this chassis here this morning. And as soon as I'm done blasting the chassis, I'm going to back this in the shop. Well, here's shop foreman Kevin. Hey, buddy. He still doesn't trust that I can sandblast right, so he's here to supervise today. But for now, I'm burning precious daylight, and I might as well get started. All right, that took a little longer than I wanted it to because I'm using used sand, and you really shouldn't use used sand on this. It takes literally 3 times longer, 4 times longer. It would take twice as long if you just had the sand ready to go, but you have to shovel it up off the ground and sift it, which doubles your time there. And then the fact that it's used more than doubles your time there. So this took a long time. I just didn't happen to have any new sand here. So it took a long time to get this done. And I got this done as much as I wanted to. The wheels, the suspension, the front plate, some of the suspension in the back, the underside, this bucket, inside and out. I didn't bother getting the underside of it because you're not going to be able to see it. I probably won't even paint that. But got everything else ready. Now I'm going to go ahead and get cleaned up. All right, I've went and got myself cleaned up just a little bit. I haven't gotten that stuff pulled in the shop yet. But before I'd really do much else, I'm going to make my way to a different project, a carpentry project that involves texturing. This is a texture gun with a hopper on top. What you use for texturing is drywall mud, and it really depends on what you're looking for. If you want a heavy popcorn texture to cover up questionable drywall or bent up walls or whatever it is, like you see on a lot of ceilings, then you're going to want to use something that's close to the consistency that the drywall mud comes in. Close. So you're going to have to thin it some, but it's still going to be really thick. And what you really should do is figure out what kind of texture you want by getting some spray boards, just some scrap wood, and practicing on them with a few different mixtures until you get the mixture you want. I like a lighter texture, which is about the consistency of pancake batter. So, and I've textured many times in my life. I textured every room in my own house and every room in my daughter's house, and they just finished redoing another room in there, and that's where I'm going today to texture that room as well. Ceiling, walls, everything. And I prefer mine to be about the consistency of pancake batter. And so I'll thin it down and I'll run it. I'll thin it down, not the whole thing, not the whole hopper full, just about a cupful. And then I'll go ahead and get a practice board out and see if it's what I wanted. And if it's what I want, and plus that's a good opportunity to make sure the gun and everything's working correctly. And then once we get all that figured out and greenlit, then I'll mix up quite a bit more. And then I'll go in there and do all that texturing here, starting right now. Okay, so here I am in this room. As you can see, it's about an average sized bedroom. And here's my drywall mud. I have another 5 gallons there. And you can see the consistency. See how thick that is? That's been untouched and unthinned. You'd want to thin it just a little bit for popcorn texture, but we're going to thin it quite a bit more for what we're doing in here. And this is my test board. And all I'm going to do is just flip it up on its side and use the bottom of it there. And put some patterns out there and see how it's spraying. And if everything works out good, then we're green lit and we're going. Now here's my consistency now. See how it's not dragging a big trail and coming up on a big lump? See, that's about the consistency of pancake batter. Maybe a hair thicker, maybe. This is where I'm going to start though. I'm going to spray it on the bottom of this box and see if it turns out good. And if it's what I want, then that's what I'm going to keep. And then when I run out of this, because this won't be enough to do this room, I'm just going to add a little bit of that mud to it and a little bit of that water to it and get that consistency back again. And then go from there. You don't want to take a whole 5 gallons of drywall mud and thin it at once, because what if you get it too thin? Or what if you only use half of it? Now the rest of it's doomed unless you're going to do a bunch more texturing, because it's never going to be drywall mud again. So these guys still have another big drywall job they're going to be doing in this house. So for them, they just need to have their 5 gallons of drywall mud. Whatever I use out of it, I use out of it, and the rest is going to remain drywall mud. And remember, when you do drywalling and you're using out of a 5 gallon or any other bucket, once you use part of it, even this much of it, or this much of it, or this much of it, it doesn't really matter. Once you've used part of it, make sure you take your scraper, your spreader, and you go around the inside of the bucket with your spreader at the end of the day. Get all of that off the inside of the bucket and back down in the mud. Otherwise, it's going to dry there. And then somebody's going to come along later and either scrape it into there or bump it into there while you're mixing it up or something like that. And then you've got chunks in your mud, which you might as well just throw it out. Basically useless with those hard chunks in there. They don't reconstitute. They're hard forever. So just a bit of a reminder, if you're doing a drywall job, be sure at the end of the day, every day, to take your spreader and get all of that off of the sides and get it down in the thing. You want nice clean sides to your bucket at the end of the day. But for now, we're not drywalling. As you can see, that's already happened in here. The crew did this, mostly my daughter actually. She's done a lot of drywalling. She knows a lot of the same things I know. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some of that in here if this passes the test, and just keep using out of that until this room's done. Okay, now what I've done is I've just put a little bit in there. See, just a little bit. Because if you get it wrong, you don't have a huge mess to clean up. You want to be able to dump it right back out and start over. And I've got it about right. I don't have too big of a test board here, so I had to be brief about it. And you can see right there in the middle, that's a little bit too much. And like right down here is about what I want. Right about from here to here to here. This little rectangle, that's about the consistency I want in here. And so I've got my actual consistency right. But you can't just rely on that. You also have to be careful about your spray pattern. You have to kind of think of yourself as a human printer, and you have to treat spraying automobiles, houses, texture. You have to treat it all the same way. You have to act like you're a human printer. Otherwise, you're getting too much in some areas, and you'll have runs, or you'll have kind of that sloppy. That's just too much. And so you have to really concentrate hard on just basically pretending you're a robot and going that way. So it's really all about how you plan to do it, and keeping your head and making sure that you use nice, smooth, swift, consistent movements. You don't overlap anything too much. You know, those are all things that are important. So now that I know about how I want to do it, I'm going to start in the least conspicuous corner of the room and really dial it in there. I mean, I'm going to try and get it very right, perfect from the get-go, but you want to start in your least conspicuous spot first. So if there's anything to learn, you learn it there. And so that's what I'm going to be doing here. Now just this ceiling used, over 3/4 of a hopper full. And that's something you need to consider too if you're going to go doing this, especially extensively, is what kind of shape are you in? Because you're picking up four gallons plus the weight of your air hose plus the weight of the unit itself over your head, and then you're supposed to spread consistently and evenly and carefully with this 4 gallons of mud up above your head. You've got to be, you either have to be strong to do this, or you just have to use smaller amounts at a time. You don't have to fill the hopper, but if you are going to, you realize you've got your hands full. Now, the reason I did the ceiling first, I actually did this wall first because that's the most inconspicuous wall, and I wanted to get my pattern right. I wanted to make sure that we had this right. And we do, so I went ahead from there and did the ceiling. And the biggest reason you'll always want to do the ceiling first is because you don't want to be roaming around staring up at the ceiling and getting really concentrated hard on what you're doing, really focused, then all of a sudden your shoulder bumps the wall and you have a giant smear in your pre-laid texture. What are you going to do about that? You're going to texture over it, you'll be able to see it. You're going to clean it up with a drywall knife, you'll be able to see it. The uniformity you gained there is now gone. It's to your eye, maybe not to everybody's eye, but to your eye, you're always going to see that spot. That's why you want to do the ceiling first. Do the ceiling first, so in case you or your air hose or some of your equipment bumps that wall, you're not hurting anything. Your chances of you bumping the ceiling trying to do the wall, 0. So you always want to do your ceiling first if you can, then go to the walls. And another thing I should probably mention is how exhausting texturing can be. I got to sweating so much that I had to take my glasses off. They were completely just running with sweat. And since it's so kind of dark in here, it's really hard to tell how well you're doing. But I think I got it pretty thoroughly. I'd love to take you around and have a look, but like I said, it's awfully dark in here, so it's gonna be hard to do, but I'd have to get a light. And it's not really going to show all that well on camera probably. But once this room gets painted, before they get it furnished, I'll bring this camera back in and I'll show you what this kind of texture looks like once it's all finished. This room though is completely done, ready for the next step. So I got done with all that stuff yesterday, and here it is the next morning. Got this all inside here last night just before it started raining. It's been raining ever since. And as you can see, we got the chassis all sandblasted. We got shop foreman Kevin here making sure that everything gets done to par. And so one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to start pulling some of these more tedious things off the truck, like the air cleaners and the exhaust. The boys will be in here in about 45 minutes. I don't require anybody comes in usually until 9. And so I get out here and get started usually hours before that. Today's no different. So I'll get some of this stuff pulled off this truck here this morning. And now at this point, we've got all the masking done. Getting a bunch of these sanding and scratching done, and I'm just getting ready to start the body work. As you can see, I've sanded all the little spots that need it. Again, I don't sand the whole thing or you won't know where the spots are, so I've sanded just the spots that need it. Getting ready to do that body work. I've already gouged up the insides of these and got them prepped and put some fiberglass on them, all 3 spots on both sides. So now we can proceed with the hood repairs. Here I've got one side bodywork's done and glazing's done, and you can see I've just got some random glazing I haven't sanded yet, and then the bodywork here without any glazing. And then over here got the bodywork and the glazing done up front here, and I've got a fiberglass repair done right there that I didn't get the other day. I didn't notice how badly split out and eaten up it was, so I did a sandwich repair. I did a repair on the back side and the front side and sandwiched them both. All right, gang. The chores are all done. Bodywork's done, glazing's done, sanding and scratching everywhere is done. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this guy in wet sanding primer. I'm going to be priming the doors, the back, the sides of the hood, and the fenders themselves. Good morning, gang. Well, as you saw, we got this priming done yesterday. It had all night to go ahead and cure out. Now I'm going to search these fenders for cracks and pinholes that I might have missed, which is a big reason that I even prime. And then I'm going to go ahead and get that bodywork finished up, whatever there is to do. Go ahead and get these fenders sanded. Then I'm going to finish getting this chassis prepped, in that I'm going to be taking my air hammer and getting rid of things like this rust buildup right here. Just little spots like that where there's rust scale left behind, and get it all blown off. And then I'm going to get the fenders primed in epoxy primer, about the same color of primer as what's on it right now. Then I'm going to prime this chassis. Then I'm going to get the fenders blue today. Well, all right, folks, it's the next morning. I'm going to go ahead, and if you've seen any of these videos in these Kenworths, you already know the drill. First thing I'm going to do before the crew shows up here is I'm going to go ahead and segregate these fenders with some vinyl tape. And then they're going to get here. We're going to go ahead and mask off the fenders. We're going to go ahead and get everything that's primed, sanded, top to bottom, front to back. And today I'm going to get the white on the cab and the hood. and the black paint on the chassis. It's only in primer right now. We'll go ahead and get the paint on it today as well. Now, the reason that I prime the chassis at the same time that I do the fenders is because I prime this chassis heavy, usually 3 coats. And by the time that's done, this is wet enough that it would take 2 hours or better to set up enough that you could paint on it reliably. So instead of going through all that on a day where I've already got so much else to do, I go ahead and do it at the same time as the fenders, so then the next morning it's ready to go. Masking's all done. Now we're working on getting some sanding done. Got about half of the back done. Getting the hood all resanded here. We're gonna have this guy ready to go in no time. Masking's done, sanding's done, scratching's done, everything's done. It's go time. Well, now it's another bright, sunny Wyoming morning, and we got this done yesterday, as you saw. And I'm going to go ahead and unmask the fenders like I always do before the boys come in, and we'll see how that turned out. If it turned out good, then we're green lit to go ahead and get the rest of it unmasked and put back together. Now, you've seen many times that I'll shoot 2 colors at the same time, and I don't think many other body shops will do that, because it's basically sounds insane. You're going to get overspray from one on the other, but I've basically perfected the technique of shooting with such light pressure and intention and being careful where you aim your gun and how you control everything that it just really never happens. I don't get overspray from one on the other when I do a chassis in black and a truck in white, which are the opposite of colors. But I'll show you what does happen. See that? You got to wonder, what's a person do about that? Because if I shot any higher than that, I would be getting black overspray up onto this paint. So I'm really careful and I just shoot to there. Now, that's an unacceptable result right there, but I don't leave it at that. Now that it's the next morning, I'm going to put a big wide piece of paper all the way across the back here, and then I'm going to mix up a little more paint and then lightly shoot that with very light pressure. And then I'm going to unmask it, and then we're done. By the time they come to get this here in a few hours, that'll be completely dry and ready to go. And that's how I tie these 2 things together, or any 2 things that I shoot at the same time. Well, that went pretty well. Got both sides unmasked, no damage whatsoever. Everything looks good. Boys are going to be in here any second, and we're going to go ahead and finish unmasking, put this back together, hopefully this morning, because the owners are coming for it this afternoon. Well, all right, gang, there's another one in the books. Let's go ahead and walk around it and have us a look. Okay, this is a 2007 Kenworth W900. Like many of the others you've seen us do here on this channel. This one showed up in pretty darn decent shape. The fenders weren't in too bad a shape. The clear coat wasn't coming off nearly so much. The hood wasn't in too bad a shape. It wasn't all busted up on the inside. The doors weren't all half the paint wasn't coming off of them and full of dents like oftentimes happens. This truck really wasn't in bad shape. The chassis needed a bunch of help like they all do. Sandblasted it, double coat with primer, 3 coats of paint. The back was beat up. Did all the details like usual. Hubs, the drive lines, everything down in here. Came out nice. Got some good gloss on it. This one is now ready for the auction house. So in this video, I've shown you how to undercoat the bottom of your F-250 or any pickup. I've shown you how to texture the walls and ceiling of a bedroom. And we managed to squeeze another Kenworth in. Hey, if you like this video, you should take the time to hit the like button. That's the only thing really that's going to help me grow this channel. And if you want to see more of what goes on around here, then you might as well check us out at Facebook at Flash Industrial Painting. And if you want to see more videos like this, or domestic auto body, or carpentry, or art, or gardening, or any of the many things we do around here, you might as well just take the time to hit the subscribe button while you're at it, because you know, we always got something going on. We'll see you guys around.